Rev up your engines!
Rob Lopez. Hey Scotty, can I do mechanical damage to my car if I turn it off while the shifter's still in drive? Well, not really. As long as you have your foot on the brake and the car's not moving anymore. I actually know a lot of people that do that. They come to a stop, they leave it in drive, then they put the emergency brake on, then they shut the car off. So then the weight of the vehicle is on the locked emergency brakes and not on the transmission. Let's say you live in San Francisco, you got an automatic transmission. If you park on a hill, put that thing in park and then shut it off, and then put on the emergency brake, you're putting a lot of strain on that transmission crawl gear that holds it in place. It's better to use the brakes first, then later put it in park if you live in really hilly environments. Now, if you live in a flat place, it really doesn't matter what the heck you do. There's no strain on it at all. Josh Newby. Hi, everybody. For oil changes, what matters most, time or mileage? Well, it's a combination. If you use normal oil, you can change it every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, non-synthetic normal oil. If you use synthetic oil, you can change it like every 5,000 to 7,000 miles. I like being conservative. Regardless of the type of oil you use, you need to change it at least once a year. I don't care if you only drive 1,000 miles a year, you still need to change it once a year, and here's why. When you burn gasoline, which is nothing but hydrogen and carbon basically in your car's engine, Earth's atmosphere, 79% nitrogen, some oxygen and trace elements, waste product that comes out is carbon dioxide and water vapor. Well, the water vapor makes water build up inside your engine, and it will corrode your engine. But, say you're going on a highway, 65, 70 miles an hour, fast, hot, then all that water just boils, vaporizes, and leaves the engine. I see a lot of customers of mine that don't drive much. Some only drive 500, 600 miles a year. And when I take off their oil cap, there's white crap inside, and that's a combination of oil and water. They don't drive it enough to get that water out. So, you want to, with normal oil, change your oil 3,000 to 5,000 miles. Or once a year. If you got synthetic oil, you can bump it to 5,000 to 7,000 miles, but still once a year. Mechanicon Sunday. I got a Civic with a 1.5 CVT. I incidentally put it in neutral while I was running at 50 kilometers an hour and floored it. I heard the engine screaming, then put it back to drive. Do you think it could have damaged anything in the engine or the transmission? Well, it didn't damage anything in the transmission. Those CVT transmissions have various fail-safe things in them, so you can't damage it. From what I've done research on, most of the CVTs, and realize there's like 15 different varieties out there, but most of them are set up so that even if you put it in reverse, say you're driving down the road and you hit the shifter and it goes from drive to reverse, you're going 30 miles an hour, it won't allow it to go into reverse because of the software and the way it was designed. So you didn't damage the transmission, but revving it up real high will damage your engine. You make excellent engines. Odds are revving up one time didn't hurt anything, but don't make a practice of it. Gradius 33. Scotty, I purchased an 05 Dodge Magnum 2 months ago. It stalled on a highway. I changed the plugs and the sensor, but it doesn't help. It won't start. Help. Okay. Well, I got a video for that you should start out with. It's called Fixing a Car That Cranks But Doesn't Start Up. Watch that video. It gives all kinds of tips. What you want to pray, you said starting fluid doesn't make it start. So it can't be just the fuel pump. If the fuel pump went out while you were on the road and it died, when you sprayed starting fluid, say take the air filter out and spray starting fluid while someone cranks the engine, if it starts, you know the fuel pump's at least bad, if not other things, but you know that spraying it in makes it run. Since spraying it in doesn't make it run, you either have an ignition problem or you got a serious problem like the engine blew a head gasket or something. I don't advise people to buy 15-year-old Dodge. When you get them, it's the tail end of their life. I hope you didn't pay much for it. And let's pray it's something like maybe a crank sensor went bad so it doesn't have any spark and that the engine hasn't gone out. But it very well could be the engine going out. I see that all the time. Now, Suno says, Scotty, I got an old 89 Suzuki Samurai. When first starting, black smoke's coming out of the tailpipe. Black smoke means it's running way too rich. If it's carbureted, now, I don't know where you are all over the world. Some places still have carburetors. If it's carbureted, the carburetor's dumping too much gas in the engine. You need to either replace it or rebuild it. But if it's fuel injected and it's smoking black like that, the first thing you want to check is see if the fuel pressure regulator or any of the injectors are leaking. And a good way to test the injectors is this. You're getting black smoke. It's a little bitty four banger, so take out the four spark plugs and look at them. And if one of them is black, That injector's bad and it's spraying gas. But if all of them are black, then they all get too much fuel. You always have to pinpoint why something's running rich, and that's a good way of doing it, because you got an old dinosaur, it's an 89, you know, it's OBD1. You're not going to get any good data. If it was a newer car, 96 or newer, you'd have OBD2, and we mechanics can stick scan tool and we can see all kinds of data, but we can't on that old thing. Nolge. So Scotty, what's the best cheap scan tool that can read engine and enhance codes, other than that blue driver that you showed that plugs in and use your cell phone? There are lots of scan tools out there. The problem is you want to read enhanced codes. To get any serious enhanced codes, and I mean serious, I personally like this Actron that I have, but it's a $250 scanner. It does a lot of enhanced codes, but it's $250. And even then, it only does it for certain vehicles. Enhanced codes, high-level information. You need a high-level scanner for that. When I'm really working on a car that has a problem that, say, somebody's taking it to 3 mechanics, they can't figure out what's wrong with it, the first thing I hook up a TEL scanner. It's a $5,000 scanner. Then I start looking at the data, and it's great because it's color-coded. Good data is normal. Bad data is red, and in between data is yellow. So I look at all the yellow and red data, and I can get a lot of information. I mean, I got pages and pages to go through. First thing I do is look at the color-coded one, and when I see color-coded ones that are bad, I start there. And those things, you're talking big bucks then. Driver's pretty good, but if you want to spend $250, you know, get one of those Actrons on Amazon, the one that costs about $250. They're pretty good. But if you don't want to spend more than, say, $100, you're not going to find much better than that blue driver for that kind of money. Bob H. 1970. Hey, Scotty, you claim you've been working on cars for over 50 years. That's a long time. So if you started when you're 14, that'd make you almost 65 now. We don't believe you. Okay, well, I am 65. If you do what you love and have fun doing it, you're not going to age. I'll give you a perfect example. My grandfather was working on cars when he was in his late 80s at my father's Texaco gas station in Lewiston, New York. Friends of mine would come and they'd say, hey, you know, your granddad, boy, he's still pretty sharp. He says, my granddad, he retired a few years ago and he's drooling out of the mouth and he can barely talk. I mean, he's gotten senile. Well, if you do stuff that you like, it's going to keep your mind going. And part of the reason I answer all these questions for people is because it keeps my mind sharp. I find that if I don't do it, I start to get a little fuzzy. You got to keep exercising your mind. It's just like muscles. If you don't exercise them, guess what? They go away. And even my grandfather, when my father said, I'm sick of running a gas station, and he shut it down, well, my grandfather then had no place to work. Within a year, he was dead. And he sat around on a couch watching football, baseball games, and hockey games. It was working that kept him alive. And that's kind of what keeps me alive, so... So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.